The oppressed are allowed once every few years to decide which particular representatives of the oppressing class are to represent and repress them. The philosophers have only interpreted the world, in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. These words are also inscribed upon his grave. The last capitalist we hang shall be the one who sold us the rope. Hegel remarks somewhere that all great, world historical facts and personages occur, as it were, twice. He has forgotten to add, the first time as tragedy, the second as farce. Reason has always existed, but not always in a reasonable form. I am nothing but I must be everything. Let the ruling classes tremble at a communistic revolution. The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. Working men of all countries unite. Go on, get out. Last words are for fools who haven't said enough. Perseus swore a magic cap down over his eyes and ears as a make-believe that there are no monsters. To be radical is to grasp things by the root. It is not the consciousness of men that determines their being, but, on the contrary, their social being that determines their consciousness. Religion is the impotence of the human mind to deal with occurrences it cannot understand. If anything is certain, it is that I myself am not a Marxist. In a letter about the peculiar Marxism which arose in France 1882. Communism is the riddle of history solved, and it knows itself to be this solution. The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. In proportion therefore, as the repulsiveness of the work increases, the wage decreases. There is no royal road to science, and only those who do not dread the fatiguing climb of its steep paths have a chance of gaining its luminous summits. Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world and the soul of soulless conditions. It is the opium of the people. Society does not consist of individuals, but expresses the sum of interrelations, the relations within which these individuals stand. Capitalism, teach a man to fish, but the fish he catches aren't his. They belong to the person paying him to fish, and if he's lucky, he might get paid enough to buy a few fish for himself. Then the world will be for the common people, and the sounds of happiness will reach the deepest springs. Ah! Come! People of every land, how can you not be roused? The increase in value of the world of things is directly proportional to the decrease in value of the human world. Labor in the white skin can never free itself as long as labor in the black skin is branded. The education of all children, from the moment that they can get along without a mother's care, shall be in state institutions. Moments are the elements of profit. Education is free. Freedom of education shall be enjoyed under the condition fixed by law and under the supreme control of the state. If you love without evoking love in return, if through the vital expression of yourself as a loving person you fail to become a loved person, then your love is impotent, it is a misfortune. The best thing for rich people to do is become Batman. Necessity is blind until it becomes conscious. Freedom is the consciousness of necessity. The ruling ideas of each age have ever been the ideas of its ruling class. A commodity appears at first sight an extremely obvious, trivial thing. But its analysis brings out that it is a very strange thing, abounding in metaphysical subtleties and theological niceties. You must be aware that the reward for labor, and quantity of labor, are quite disparate things. The tradition of past generations weighs like the Alps on the brains of the living. Political power, properly so called, is merely the organized power of one class for oppressing another. Once the interconnection is grasped, all theoretical belief in the permanent necessity of existing conditions collapses before their collapse in practice. Letter to Ludwig Kuhlmann, July 11, 1868. Men make their own history, but they do not make it as they please. To be radical is to go to the root of the matter. For man, however, the root is man himself. It is well known how the monks wrote silly lives of Catholic saints over the manuscripts on which the classical works of ancient heathendom had been written. Just as man is governed, in religion, by the products of his own brain, so, in capitalist production, he is governed by the products of his own hand. The ideas of the ruling class are in every epoch the ruling ideas. The production of too many useful things results in too many useless people. Merely quantitative differences, beyond a certain point, pass into qualitative changes. I am a machine condemned to devour books. The theory of communists may be summed up in the single sentence, abolition of private property. All mysteries which lead theory to mysticism find their rational solution in human practice and in the comprehension of this practice. As individuals express their life, so they are. Man makes his own history, but he does not make it out of the whole cloth, he does not make it out of conditions chosen by himself, but out of such as he finds close at hand. The more of himself man attributes to God, the less he has left in himself. The true law of economics is chance, and we learn people arbitrarily seize on a few moments and establish them as laws. History is not like some individual person, which uses men to achieve its ends. History is nothing but the actions of men in pursuit of their ends. Wages are a direct consequence of estranged labor, and estranged labor is the direct cause of private property. Ignorance never yet helped anybody. The tradition of past generations weighs like the Alps on the brains of the living. Self-contempt is a serpent that ever gnaws at one's breath, sucking the lifeblood from one's own heart and mixing it with the poison of misanthropy and despair. Atheism reminds one of children, assuring everyone who is ready to listen to them that they are not afraid of the bogeyman. Marx, letter to November 30, 1842. Nobody, not even a musician of the future, can live upon future products. Machinery which is not used is not capital. Man makes religion, religion does not make man. Religion is indeed man's self-consciousness and self-awareness as long as he has not found his feet in the universe. The new era differs from the old chiefly in that the last begins to imagine itself possessed of genius. Every opinion based on scientific criticism I welcome. Philosophers have hitherto only interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. Society as a whole is more and more splitting up into two great hostile camps. Every emancipation is a restoration of the human world and of human relationships to man himself. Capital is dead labor, which, vampire-like, lives only by sucking living labor, and lives the more labor it sucks. In fact, the proposition that man's species nature is estranged from him means that one man is estranged from the other, as each of them is from man's essential nature. The alienation of man thus appeared as the fundamental evil of capitalist society. Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world, just as it is the spirit of a spiritless situation. It is the opium of the people. The first requisite for the happiness of the people is the abolition of religion. Every one of our relationships with nature and man must be a definite expression of our real, individual life. All science would be superfluous if the outward appearance and the essence of things directly coincided. Workers of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains. Communism deprives no man of the power to appropriate the products of society. All that it does is to deprive him of the power to subjugate the labor of others by means of such appropriation. As a matter of fact, the methods of primitive accumulation are anything but idyllic. Hic Rhodus, hic salta. Here is the rose, here dance. The forming of the five senses is a labor of the entire history of the world down to the present. The extremity of this bondage is that it is only as a worker that he continues to maintain himself as a physical subject, and that it is only as a physical subject that he is a worker.